Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the United States. This is George Hicks, the National Broadcasting Company. This is the World Series of 1937. We're speaking from our box directly behind home plate on the lip of the third tier at Yankee Stadium in New York City. But you fans don't need to have me tell you what this is all about. It's the New York Yankees, world champions of 1936, again pennant winners this year in the American League, versus the New York Giants, National League champions of 1937, and for the World Championship in baseball. And this is the fifth World Series since the beginning in 1905 between the two New York teams. Well, we've been in our chairs here since 11 a.m. this morning, now 1:15. The bleachers, bending in an irregular curve from middle left field around to middle right, were packed solid on our arrival this morning. And the third tier of moderate-priced reserve seats were also packed at that time, except the extreme tips at left and right field, and now they're filling up. The expensive boxes in first layer tier are now filled practically, except for the last moment arrivals. There must easily be 50,000 or a little more here now before game starts, and they're still pouring in. NBC has its baseball experts manning the microphones. Tom Manning, NBC sports announcer from Cleveland, one of the best. Well, he'll describe the first half of the game. Beside him is Red Barber, star sports announcer from station WLW in Cincinnati. Both, by the way, are red-headed. So remember, when the action gets hot, these two red-headed flashes will be throwing the words at you. And with them is Warren Brown, the friendly and wise ball expert, sports editor of the Chicago Herald-Examiner. He'll give you the expert opinions, the inside facts that only he knows. So much for what's to come. Right now, the Yanks are just trotting in off the diamond. The caretakers are out with their rakes and the chalk lines, the manicuring, which goes on just before the game starts. It's just about 10 minutes now. The photographers are flashing bulbs at the first row box seats where all the celebrities are seated. It's so muggy today, incidentally, that they're using flash bulbs. The Giants are now coming into their dugout. The weather is humid. Whether this is October 6th or not, perspiration is running off our faces, and the bleachers are in shirt sleeves, making that white background. It rained last night here in New York, but now the sky is a pale blue with those low steamy clouds breaking and floating right over our heads, and the pennants up on top of the horseshoe. But boy, it's thick and it's hot out here, but I'm sure it won't rain. Mayor LaGuardia is here. Oh, Mickey Cochran, the old Mike of Detroit, looking fit again, and the babe, Gino. He was wiping his face a moment ago in a blue serge suit. Sits in a box right down below us beside the Yankee dugout. With him is Mrs. Ruth and his daughter, Jacob Rupert. Genial, handsome, smiling with Mayor LaGuardia. Mr. Rupert stood and shook hands with the babe while the photographers took their pictures. Cheers and excitement. The comments running like fire through the stands have been egging us on since noon, when the audience follows DiMaggio, Gehrig, Dickey, Selkirk, Moore, and Ott, all the sluggers, as they drop their long drives into either left or right field stand. The Giants today are the visitors. They're in gray with bright azure blue caps, blue shirt sleeves and socks. The Yanks in white with dark blue caps and socks. The crowd got a terrific howl a few moments ago when Gomez put a long punch into the right field stand. At batting practice about 12:30, when the Giants came in, Hubble got a fine hand when he came to bat, but the best he could do was to ground to the infield. The crowd also cheered young Jack McCarthy, first baseman of the Giants, when he put several long drives into right field stand. They said, well, look at who we got here, as much as to say, well, this boy is right up there with Gehrig and DiMaggio. A quarter of a mile away, on the top of the apartment roofs, which are jagged in modernistic style, are the apartment roof galleryites, who pay no ticket and who get a very much of a bird's eye view of the entire scene. Hub is now down behind home plate on the Giant side, warming up, taking his time, wipes his head with his shirt sleeve, puts his old left arm across, and there's the ball. Gomez is doing the same thing on the Yankee side. Photographers are squatted around them, and the caretakers are now laying out their chalk marks around home plate and the batter's boxes.
Attention, please.
The band is playing in center field.
People standing in the aisle, please take their
We pause for a moment for the loudspeaker announcement, which said for the people in the aisles to please take their seats. It's just minutes now before the beginning of history in baseball for 1937. The grandstands are packed, red, white, and blue bunting on all sides, excitement growing, and now that's the general scene. Let's get down to what this really means. Beside me is Warren Brown that I spoke to you about. Warren, come on and give us the facts about 1937.
All right, George, this is really the most exciting series, or I anticipate that it will be the most exciting series of the sort of a traditional rivalry that has grown up between the New York Giants and the New York Yankees. As you have been told, or perhaps know already, this is the fifth meeting between these two clubs. They met for the first time in 1921. And baseball history of sorts has been made since then. In 1921, for example, there was no Yankee Stadium. Both of the New York clubs played in the Polo Grounds, which is across the Harlem River. In the 1921 series, the New York Giants were tops in baseball. John McGraw was leading them, and they were a fiery baseball club. In my judgment, the club that Bill Terry is sending out on the field this afternoon is the best New York club since the heyday of McGraw. In that 1921 series, the games were played on the basis of 5 out of 9 rather than the 4 out of 7, which had existed in earlier years and which has been brought back into play now. In that 1921 series, the Giants won 5 and the Yankees won 3. The following year, 1922, the Giants won again, and they won 4 games. The Yankees didn't win any. That was the return to the 4 out of 7 as far as the Giants and Yankees were concerned. The Yankees started to get going in 1923, which was the third successive year that Yankees and Giants played in the World Series. And the thought strikes me now as I've looked at these two pennant races in the National and American League that maybe we're back to those old days again. The Giants and Yankees won last year, and they won again this year, having proven conclusively in their respective leagues that they were far and away the best ball clubs in those leagues. So it is quite possible that we may have another stretch of 3 years, or possibly more, of these all-New York series, the Subway Series as they call them. In 1923, when the Yankees won the World Championship from the Giants, they won 4, and the Giants won 2. After that, the Yankees fell apart a little bit, and it took them a little while to rebuild until they came back stronger than ever. The Giants won another pennant in 1924, but they didn't have the Yankees as their opponents in the World Series that year. Thus it was we came into 1936 before the two clubs met again. And of course we will all remember that the Yankees won a really sensational series here last year, 4 games out of 6. Summing up then, we find that down through these 4 series that have been played to date, the Giants have won 13 games, and the Yankees have won 11, which seems to me to bring the two teams very close. In a sense, then, this series, which begins today, being the 5th, is a rubber series. Unless, of course, we figure that they're going to keep right on going again next year. These meetings between the Giants and the Yankees have been productive of some sensational baseball, some very colorful things. Some of the strangest things that have ever happened in World Series play have happened when the Giants were meeting the Yankees. It was in one of these series that we had the famous episode in which a plate umpire declared that it was dark when very few people in the park thought it was dark, with the result that the Commissioner Landis, to whom the decision of the umpire came as much of a stunning surprise as to anybody else, decided to give the money that was spent for those tickets to charity. That was one of the more famous incidents of this Giant-Yankee series. There were a lot of strange plays and a lot of sensational plays. But that's almost enough for the past. Let us get to the present. Looking at the lineups today, which the loudspeaking system is about to give you, perhaps I should pause and let you hear that.
For the Giants. Hey!
now the pitchers and the catchers and the umpires. Gomez versus Hubble, which we've been expecting this meeting between the two representative left-handers of their respective leagues. As I look through the batting orders and the lineups of the two teams, I find one thing that must be of interest to far-off California. I noticed that the New York Yankees in their starting lineup have no less than 5 out of their 9 ball players come from California. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem. Before the anthem about the native sons of California. On the Yankee side are Gomez, the pitcher, Frank Crosetti, the shortstop, Tony Lazzari, the second baseman, perhaps the greatest of them all, Joe DiMaggio, the center fielder, and Merle Hogue, the left fielder. Against them on the Giants side is only Dick Bartell, representing California. And this is not a plug for my native state or anything like that, but it is just an interesting sidelight. As we look at the game now, which is almost to begin, it seems to me that the Giants come into this series as a stout defensive club, a good-spirited club with fine pitching and a modicum of power. The Yankees, of course, are the powerhouse with also good pitching. If anything, their pitching is on a par with the Giants. In a sense, it seems to me that we are going to look at, starting this afternoon, a World Series in which we will have the famous test that we've long awaited between the irresistible force and the immovable object. And now it seems to me that it's almost time for us to hear from my friend Tom Manning of Cleveland. All right, Tom.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. That round of applause is for the New York Yankees, the winners of the pennant in the American League. Their opponents this afternoon in this World Series will be the New York Giants of the National League. Running over the lineup again for you rapidly. Out on the field at the moment, the Yankees. Frank Crosetti at short will lead off. Fred Rolfe at third base will bat second. And that sensational Joe DiMaggio in center field will bat third. At first base will be the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. The catcher will be Bill Dickey. In left field for the Yanks, Merle Hogue. In right field, George Selkirk. Tony Lazzari, the veteran second baseman, will be at the Keystone sack for the American League entry, and the pitcher, as Warren Brown told you, will be Lefty Gomez. For the Giants, Bill Terry sort of outguessed the boys today. They're a double change. Joe Moore in left field. Dick Bartell at short. Melvin Ott at third base. Hank Lieber in right field. Ripple. Hank Lieber will be in center field and Ripple will be in right field. Lieber in center, Ripple in right. McCarthy at first base. Mancuso catch. Whitehead. Second base, Hubble pitch. Umpire Red Ormsby. Behind the bat, the American League umpire adjusted his mask. Bill Dickey squats down. And the first hitter is Joe Moore. Joe Moore is the left-hand batter. The left fielder of the Giants. Lefty Gomez now is kicking the dirt around the rubber. And the pomp and ceremony is over. The boys are down in earnest now, fighting for this championship. The signal, the wind-up, and the series is on. Strike ball. A fast ball came right down the old alley. Joe Moore took a look at it, stepped away from the plate, and the first pitch of the 1937 World Series is a called strike on Joey Moore. Strike, he swings, and this is strike two. out unassisted. Joe Moore is out. Gehrig unassisted. One man down in the first inning of this first game of the World Series. And little Dick Bartell, right-hand hitter, shortstop of the Giants, is next. He's a little fellow, but he can hit that ball to the far corners. Dick is 29 years old. This year he batted .306. Lefty Gomez. The pitch. It's a foul back against the screen. Matt Ormsby, the American League umpire, tosses out a new ball to Bill Dickey. You know, Bill Dickey is one of the tallest catchers ever to come into the major leagues. Man, what a catcher. First inning, one man out, nobody on. Lefty Gomez. Ball, it's too high. That was a fastball, very high, and the count on Dick Bartell, ball one and strike one. First inning, one man out, nobody on. Here's the pitch. Inside, ball two. Lefty Gomez trying to keep that ball inside for Dick Bartell. He has the outfield moved over just a little bit toward right field. Left, center, and right field are playing over a bit. There's a base hit. Just behind the bag, down the left field corner. It turns off the wall. Hope has it. The throw to second drives him back to first base, and it's a base hit for Dick Bartell. That was a ripping smash just inside the third base cushion. Ball going down to the left field corner. It turned off, retrieved by Hope. Hope returning the ball to Frank Rossetti and driving Dick Bartell back to first base. Belmonot, the Giant third baseman. Seems rather strange to say the Giant third baseman. For many years, he was the right fielder. Here's the pitch. Strike call. A beautiful hook ball. It caught the inside corner of the plate with Belmonot stepping back. First inning, one man out. Dick Bartell on first. Belmonot, left-hand batter, is in the box. Ball two. A slow, sweeping curveball that missed the outside corner, and the count on Mel is 1-1. George Hicks told you it's kind of a dark day. What's to the advantage of Gomez? It's a high, foul ball going in the boxes over and back of third base, and it's strike two. Strike two, and ball one. Very, very few vacant seats upstairs. The last two tiers. And in the mezzanine, the last tier and a half, and on the main floor, just the last tier. The same thing is prevalent in the right field corner. The pitch. It's a high fly ball, infield, Lou Gehrig under it. He has it. Two out. Dick Bartell on first. And Hank Lieber coming up. Hank Lieber will be in center field this afternoon. Jimmy Ripple in right field and Joe Moore in left field. It was thought for a while that Chiozzi might play center field for the Giants, but that has been changed, and Lieber will be in center. Here it is. Ball one. Fastball was over, but just a little bit too high. Hank Lieber bats him right-handed. It's the first inning. Two out. Dick Bartell on first. It's a foul back. The hit and run was on that time. Dick Bartell was off with Lefty Gomez motion. Ran all the way down to second base. And now he trots back. The umpires, Ormsby behind the bat. Morris at first. Steve Basil is at second. And Bill Stewart umpiring at third. Of course, the umpires will shift around each day. Rotate. All right. The count on Lieber is strike one. Ball one. Strike two. Makes a mighty swing. He wasn't fooling on that one. Swung hard and missed it. And the count is strike two and ball one. The Giants being the visiting club today, batting first. Two men out. Bartell on first. Here it is. Inside. Lefty Gomez thought he had a corner on that one, but it was inside, and the count is strike two and ball two. DiMaggio and Selkirk are playing plenty deep. 2-2 coming. Strike three. Strike three. Hard and misses. No run. One hit and no errors. Quite a ball game, Warren. Come in.
Yes, Tom, and the noticeable thing in that first half inning was the respect that the Giants evidently have for the throwing arm arms of these Yankee outfielders. That ball that Bartell hit over third base was normally one on which he would try for second base, but he made his round of first and half-heartedly and then turned back to first. They evidently have heard that the arms of Hogue and DiMaggio in that Yankee outfield can throw that ball around. The other noticeable thing to which I think we might as well refer now is that the rains of last night have slowed down this field to a considerable extent. I noticed that as the boys run around out there, they're digging up large sort of divots in the turf, and I'm afraid that there will not be any too much speed shown until the place dries out a little. And as the sun is now coming out strong, it probably will be dry and, as they say, at the track fast before the afternoon is over. Gomez, in striking out Lieber to end the inning, departed from his orthodox fashion of firing that ball through there. The last strike was slowed up and it threw Lieber completely off his stride, and it was an interesting pitch. All right, Tom, here's the first hitter.
Might keep this in mind. Brennan and Gumbert gone out to the right field bullpen to warm up. It'll be Carl Hubble, you know, left-hander in the box for the Giants. Carl has won 22 and lost 8. 33 years old, long, lanky left-hander. The first hitter will be Frank Grossetti. Played the windup. Ball one. The hook ball was low inside. Grossetti wiggling around up there, stepped away, took it, and the count is 1-0. Red Rolfe, the Yankee third baseman, will be next. Hubble bending over now. He's taking just a little bit of time. He always starts out rather slow, and then long about the fourth inning, peps it up a little. Ball one, inside. And the count is 2-0. On that Giant infield is Mel out at third base, Dick Bartell at short, Burgess Whitehead at second, and Johnny McCarthy at first. Hubble is in the box, and Mancuso doing the catch. Rossetti up, the count ball 2. The pitch. Strike called. A burning fastball right down the old alley, about felt high. Frankie Rossetti jumping away from the plate. But Ormsby called it, and the count is ball 2 and strike 1. A lot of pepper on that Giant infield for the moment. Outside, and it's ball 3. Ball 3 and strike 1. That count, ball 2 and strike 1. Hubble tried to come in there with a sweeping curveball over the outside, making Rossetti reach for it, but he refused. Ball was outside, and it's ball 3 and strike 1. No score as yet. Frank Rossetti, first man up for the Yankees in the last half of the first inning. When you get that outfield, it's Joe Moore in left, Hank Lieber in center, Jimmy Ripple in right. Ball 3 and strike 1. Rossetti, right-hander up. Outside, ball 4 and Rossetti walks. Coming up now, we have Red Rolfe. Peppery, third baseman. Matson, left-handed. The Yankee uniforms are white. The home uniform white, that blue stripe, about an inch apart. They're wearing navy blue jerseys, blue caps, blue stocks. The NY, of course, on the top of their cap. Carl Hubble, Giant pitcher, is a left-hander, takes a stretch, a peek at first. Here it is. It's in there, a called strike. Nice sharp breaking curveball that Red Rolfe started to dart away from. It broke over the heart of the plate for a called strike. Joe DiMaggio will be next. Rossetti has a big lead. There's a play at first. No go. Just to let him know that you're in there. Hubble tossing that ball over with not any great amount of effort. Strike 1 to count. It's outside. Sharp breaking curveball was plenty low and outside. Gus Mancuso jumping over for it. That evens the count on Rolfe. Ball 1 and strike 1. There's the stretch. Peek over to first. There's a play at first. Not even close. Rossetti getting back fast. Hubble wasn't burning that ball over to Johnny McCarthy, just letting Rossetti know that he's in there. Ball 1 and strike 1 coming. It's outside and low. Hubble shook his head a little on that. Mancuso turned around to talk to Ormsby. Burgess Whitehead, the second baseman, has walked in from his spot, yelling something at Hubble. Hubble picks up the rosin bag now. Now he's kicking the dirt around on the top of the rubber there. Melon is playing pretty deep third base. Hit runners on. It's a fly ball at back at third base. And it's 2-2. That's at least a glimpse of what Joe McCarthy, the manager of the Yankees, might be doing in this series. Instead of getting that sacrifice and playing for the one run, that count ball 2 and strike 1, put the hit and run on. Earl Combs coaching at first, Arnie Fletcher at third. The count is ball 2, strike 2. Rossetti on first, result of a base on balls and nobody else. Hubble pitching. 2-2, over to first base. Tossed over there with sort of nonchalantly. Third time he's tossed over there with no particular speed on that toss from the box. Here it is. Smacked outside, foul ball. Fans jumped to their feet then. That was a very hard smash. The ball turned all the way around on. Pulled it a little bit too much. It landed about 2 yards outside the first base cushion. One of the boys that'll bear a lot of watching in this short Blue Ribbon Classic will be Johnny McCarthy, who will replace manager Bill Terry at first base. Red Rolfe is in there with the count ball 2 and strike 2. And Rossetti on first, nobody out. Here comes strike 3. Strike 3. That count 2-2. Ball seemed to lean the forward part of the batter's box, perhaps expecting a fastball. Hubble came in there with a sharp breaking hook ball right over the inside corner. Just caught it inside corner, and Rolfe swung, missed it by 7 or 8 inches. Now we have a little different picture. One man out. Frankie Rossetti on first, and the great Joe DiMaggio. Joe, 22 years old. He hit .346 this year. Led both leagues with home runs. Strike. DiMaggio takes a mighty cut from way back on that one. Got a hold of that ball. He would certainly knocked it out of the county, Warren. Last half of the first inning of this first game of the World Series. One man out, Frankie Rossetti on first and taking an exceptionally long lead. There's a puck over to first, no go. A little faster that time. Frankie Rossetti is a pretty wiry little boy when he gets on the bases. Strike 1 on Damage. Strike 2. Oh, boy, did that Hubble have a lot of stuff on that baby. It was outside. It looked for a moment as though it had a chance of cutting in, but it twisted over the heart of the plate. Apparently fooling Joey on that one. Joe was up there with a toe hold. Now it's strike 2. Outside, a pitch out, a puck to first. No go. Rossetti was heads up that time, and he came into left bag sliding and sliding hard. Bit of inside baseball by Mancuso, calling for that pitch out. To you, Mother, that's a signal to the pitcher that the runner on the base might be caught. So the catcher signals for the pitcher to throw the ball wide of the plate, getting the batter out of the way so he can make a play at first. That's the term of pitch out. Is that right, Mr. Warren Brown? Something wrong with that ball out there. Frankie Rossetti asked Ormsby to take a look at it. Much to the disgust of Mr. Hubble, instead of throwing it in, he rolled it in on the ground. The umps took a look at it, tossed it out. Now we've got to do it. Last half of the first inning, one man out. Frank Rossetti is on first. Joe DiMaggio is up. Strike 2 and ball 1. Now being Lou Gehrig next. The pitch, the bounding ball to the base hit. Third out in the left field. The ball out there is retrieved by Joey Moore. Joey takes to Whitehead at second, holding Rossetti at second base. A base hit for Joe DiMaggio. That was a ground ball that Calvinot dove for, but just missed it. It rolled on out to left field, where it was retrieved by Joey Moore. Frank Rossetti was fast and had no chance at all of going to third base. Joey Moore, after the bag, puts the ball to Whitehead at second, but Rossetti gets back. Now we have Lou Gehrig coming up. Gehrig, bats him left-handed. Lou's been hitting 353 this season, and he's 33 years old. Hasn't missed a ball game since the Lord knows when. Hubble pitching. There it is. Fadeaway curveball, missed the outside corner, and it's ball one. Frank Rossetti is on second. Joe DiMaggio on first. Just a couple of Italian boys that know something about this game called baseball. Ball one, Gehrig hitting. Here it is. A long drive, high and far out, but not going too far away. Hank Lieber is under it, and he has it. Returns the ball to Burgess Whitehead. Rossetti holding second, DiMaggio holding first. Gehrig got a hold of that ball, but the confines of this Yankee Stadium, are plenty long, and the boys took that ball out there, not quite out to the center track. Let me give you the figures on this field. It's 301 feet to the left field corner, then direct left field is 402 feet. Directly in center field is 461. Right center is 407, and on the line in left field is 296 feet. Of course, it branches out within 30 or 40 feet of that. It's 344 feet back. Right now we have two men out, and Bill Dickey at bat, the catcher, left-hand batter. Outside, ball one. Carl Hubble leaning almost back to second base before he cut loose with that ball. Apparently, he's trying to keep that ball over the lower outside corner for Bill Dickey. Dick Bartell has moved over toward the second base cushion. Strike, ball. Ball one, strike one. Frank Rossetti on second. Joe DiMaggio on first, two men out. Walt struck out. Gehrig slides to Lieber in center field. Carl Hubble, left-hander, is in the box for the Giants. Ball one, strike one. Takes a look at second base. Here it is. Strike two, a tip foul that you could perhaps hear. That's Mancuso making the catch of the ball, and the count is strike two and ball one. Holy smoke, there's a lot of excitement here at Yankee Stadium. The folks have been waiting, just 12 months for this classic. Down on Bill Dickey now is strike two and ball one. Outside, and the count is 2-2. Earl Holt, who is playing out in left field against the southpaw shoots of Carl Hubble, is next. The other left fielder is Jakey Powell. Ball two and strike two. Hubble takes the stretch. It is tip foul. Dickey swung over that ball, landed right near home plate. Umpire whips out a new ball, and the Giants smack it around that infield with the rapidity of light. Malat, Dick Bartell, the Whitehead to McCarthy, and then back to the pitcher Hubble. The Giant outfield is Joe Moore in left, Hank Lieber in center, and Jimmy Ripple in right. DiMaggio on first, Rossetti on second, two out, Dickey batting, ball two, strike two. Coming. Ball three. A burning fastball. Drove Bill Dickey away from the plate. Hasn't had so much on it that it brought a great groan from the crowd. What's the attendance for? Somewhat over 60? Give you the figures on the attendance just as soon as they're made available to us. Full count of 3-2. The runners will be off for the pitch. There they go, and here it is. The fly ball going out into deep center field. Hank Lieber running back under it, and he has it. That's all for the Yankees in the first inning. No runs, one hit, one base on balls, and no errors. Now, radio friends, we pause briefly for station identification.
The NBC booth in the Yankee Stadium, and the thought that strikes me after watching the Yankees' first attempt at Carl Hubble's pitching in this game Hub has been a little bit wild, to the extent that he's been 3 and 2 on most of these hitters. He's been working that ball towards the corners there, pitching very carefully, for the simple reason that it is not a good judgment to get that ball any too good for these Yankee hitters. While he was hit for one base hit, the one that Joe DiMaggio splashed past Mel out at third base, that was a sort of a soggy hit, and it wasn't hit with the authority that we are accustomed to watch when the Yankees really get a hold of the ball. So far in the ball game, it has been mostly one of defense, with the Yankees furnishing the principal threat, of which, as you know now, nothing came. All right, Tom, it looks like the hitter's up here, so let's have him.
Well, it'll be Jimmy Ripple, the giant right fielder. They completed the first inning without any scores. 1 hit apiece. Carl Hubble has issued 1 base on balls. So far, Lefty Gomez has issued no bases on balls. Jimmy Ripple leading off. Jimmy, left-hand hitter, the right fielder of the Giants. Here we go. Ball 1. That was a fastball that Gomez had in there, but it was just a little bit too low. Johnny McCarthy will be next. Foul ball up and back at third base. Ball 1, strike 1. Yes, Jimmy broke his bat hitting that ball. That's what he did, and he's walking slowly over toward the Giant dugout to get a new one. One thing that the ball players just hate to do is to break their bats. Tell me, Warren, how'd that ever start?
What is that?
Well, this broken bat that sort of burns the boys out.
Well, that's just one of those superstitions that come along in baseball, like somebody that started a hit by wearing their pants long, you know. They used to pull them all up in the old days. One fella started in like Cal Simmons or somebody like that with his pants down loose, and now pretty nearly everybody does it.
Ready to go again. Ball 1 and strike 1. Ripple hitting. Has a long smash going out to left field. Merle Hogue waiting for it. He has it. Jimmy Ripple with the count. Ball 1 and strike 1. Fly to Merle Hogue in medium left field. Johnny McCarthy. First year as a regular with the Giants. They like him here in New York. He's getting a nice hand. He steps into the batter's box. He bats and throws left-handed. Lefty Gomez. Outside, ball 1. It's awful muggy and awful dark here at the moment. Little wind blowing in from the northwest. There's a smash right at Lazeri, and he makes the catch. He looked at the umpire. The umpire, Steve Basil, waved that it was a unassisted put-out. Looked as though Tony just barely got his glove underneath that ball. A terrific line smash right at Tony's feet. He held the ball up, and Steve Basil waved out that Tony Lazeri made the catch. 2 out. Nobody on. First half of the second inning. Thanks, George. Gus Mancuso up. Strike call. Gus is 31 years old. This season he batted 279. At Yankee outfield, Hogan left, DiMaggio center, Selkirk right. The pitch, it's a ball. Low and inside. Ball 1 and strike 1. The windup. Has a long smash to the right center field. Selkirk going over fast, and he has it. Very nice running catch by right fielder Georgie Selkirk. Mancuso hitting that ball on a line in the right center field. Selkirk was off with the crack of the bat and made the catch. Warren.
Tom, the noticeable thing there was the fact that all 3 of these Yankee hitters, or Giant hitters, and 2 of them left-hand hitters, took very solid wallops at the ball. Perhaps the hardest hit of the game to date in the port of effectiveness was that line drive that McCarty hit out at Lazeri out there. It's interesting to me to find those fellas walking in there against Gomez, since in the first inning, outside of Bartell's drive over third base, they looked a little bit weak at the plate. Evidently, Gomez is not treating them with the same respect that Hubble is treating the Yankee hitters. He's simply firing that ball in and trusting to those 9 men in back of them, or 8 men, I should say, in back of them, and certainly so far they've done a swell job. 2 of those catches out there in the outfield were better than ordinary catches, particularly Selkirk's on the last one. Well, here's your first Yankee hitter, Tom.
That'll be Merle Hogue. Last half of the second inning, no score as yet.
29 years old. Comes from out Sacramento, California. This season, batting .301. Earl has always been a fine baseball player, but unfortunately, he's been out of the regular lineup on many occasions because the Yankees have always had so much superior outfield. It's Carl Hubbard, a southpaw, Gus Mancuso catching. Last half of the second inning, no score, and Hogan the hitter. Strike called. Earl Hogue stuck his bat out, threw third baseman Mel out in, but of course had no intention of bunting that ball, just by way of drawing Mel out in from third base. Ball low and outside, on the count on Hogue is ball one and strike one. Earl Hogue the batter, Georgie Selkirk. George has been on the injured and sick list quite a bit during the last half of the season, but he's back in there now strong as ever. Ball one, strike one. Bounding ball down, third goes foul. Artie Fletcher tried to stop it, got past him, but Mallott retrieved the ball, and then the Giants flip it around the infield to Dick Bartell, to Whitehead, to McCarthy, and finally back to Hubbard. Earl Hogue hit that ball and started to run, was three-quarters of the way down to first base, walking back rather slow. Strike two and ball one. Carl Hubbard winding up. Too high. Over the plate, a little bit high on the count is ball two and strike two. NBC Mike is right over home plate. We're pretty high, but right in line with the pitcher and catcher. Pretty fair seat, in other words. Ball two, strike two. Bounding ball down short. Burgess comes up with it, the throw. He's out. Out by plenty. Put out 6-3 for those who keep score. Yes, Warren Brown just gives me a note that was the first assist of the ball game. Right you are, Warren. Strikeout, two fly balls. Two flies to center field by Gary Gazicki and a strikeout by Ross. Now we have Georgie Selkirk, the right fielder, left-hand batter coming up. George hit .328 this year. George is 29 years old. Hits the first ball, a high hopper, down second base, Whitehead to McCarthy, and Selkirk is out. Last half of the second inning with no score as yet. Two men have been retired, and who's shim up Tony Lazzari, and listen to the applause he gets. Tony Lazzari, always been a gentleman, fine, great ball player. They like him a lot here in New York, and they should. Tony bats him right-handed. Ball one outside. Tony is 33 years old. This year, Tony hasn't hit quite as well as usual, batting around .250. Ball one is the count, two out, and nobody on. Strike called. Hubble had a nice fastball over the inside corner with Lazzari pulling away. Now he gets a handful of dirt there, drying his hands off. And the count will be ball one and strike one. Last half of the second inning, no score as yet, two out, nobody on.